Why a Dubai Chamber of Digital Economy? And what is it that the chamber does?
Our goal is help the digital economy grow and grow at a faster pace, help companies in the digital space be able to expand and use Dubai as a springboard, work with regulators to create the best regulatory environment for companies. One of the things that we have is a program called Business in Dubai. It's a two-way platform. Companies that are interested in the city get to fill out a short questionnaire just to help us understand who they are. They are an investor or a family office or a large conglomerate or even, a telecommunication company that has offers for startups. They tell us, these are the customers, these are the people we're looking for, and the team matches them based on their demand.
What is Dubai building in terms of the entire stack of this digital economy?
When it comes to the focus of the city technology, I think, of course, AI is one. Fintech, it's the fastest growing sector. Prop tech is one. But we're seeing as well a lot of course, logistics and food security companies or industries that are using Dubai to be able to test technology in these industries.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Live, Work, and Play in Dubai for Economic Times podcast. As always, I'm Shraddha Bhandari, your host for the day, and I have a very, very interesting speaker with me today. Young, dynamic, entrepreneurial, innovative, accessible. These are some of the words that are often used to describe him. He's at the center of the global tech economy that Dubai is trying to build, leading the charge for digital transformation across the emirate, getting the startups to scale up, getting regulators to make the right policy, patient capital in, and of course, build in Dubai for the region. Someone mentioned to me that he's the Silicon Valley man here, but I think he would agree when I say that Dubai is not trying to build another Silicon Valley. It's trying to build its own homegrown hybrid model that's based on South-South collaboration and really taking the best synergies of the East and the West. So we have with us today the Vice President of Dubai Chamber of Digital Economy, Mr. Saeed Al Gergawi. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
I think when he's not doing tech startups and working with innovators, he just told us that he loves having Indian food and watching movies. And I hope in this podcast, we're able to bring in aspects about Dubai, about your personal journey, and what really makes Dubai livable.
Absolutely.
Right? So here we go. My first question to you, Mr. Syed, is, we've had a lot of speakers here talking about their personal transformations, how they got interested in the tech economy, what were that one pivotal event, one leader that they looked up to, or something that they did that got them interested. What's your story?
In simple terms, it really started when I was back in university. I wasn't never really interested in tech and in science and technology. But something clicked when I was in university. And at the time, the UAE's space exploration efforts, UAE announced that it's interested in exploring Mars and developing a space program. And very similar to sort of the success story of the Indian space program, where, I felt that, I wanted to be part of it. And find a way to contribute, even though I don't come from a technical background. And that's where I started my career at the Mohammed bin Rashid Space Center with the Emirates Mars mission. And that really built my foundation in this space. When we look at space exploration in particular, it is the foundation for all science and technology. For you to be able to just send something to space, you need all types of technicians and mathematicians and physicists and all of that. But for you to be able to make the most out of that investment and that exploration, you need all kinds of sciences. So it was the best sort of blending of these sectors all in one. And that really kicked off, to sort of say, my interest in technology and its effect on the human experience here on Earth, which then led me to the Dubai Future Foundation and really exploring how we can upskill talent and in particular government entities here in the UAE and in the region to be able to take these latest and greatest developments in science and technology, be able to put them in real world applications that ultimately better human lives, in particular there's a saying that governments have the largest customer base because ultimately they are trying to provide services for everyone on earth, right? And so at the Dubai Future Foundation, I worked with the Dubai Future Academy that focused on capacity building for government entities and for those that really wanted to explore what does the future look like. And the future is, in partnership with technology. So that really then took me to where I am today with the Dubai Chamber of Digital Economy and Dubai Chambers to really enable companies in the UAE and abroad to use Dubai as a launch pad for growth and testing. And when we look at sort of why does Dubai, so usually a city has its own chamber of commerce and industry, right? And that's a question I had as well. Why do we need the chamber of digital economy? Why do we need the chamber of international commerce? Since we already have the Dubai chambers of commerce. And the interesting aspect is post-COVID, the world changed. And the leadership in Dubai really understood that. And the way the city interacts with the private sector, because ultimately a chamber of commerce is an organization that represents the private sector and tries to work as a bridge between government and private sector. And so the leadership of Dubai, His Highness Sheikh Mohammed, decided that as a city, the way we interact with the private sector needs to differ. It needs to adapt to their needs because now we live in a different world than we lived in, pre-2020. And so as a city, our offering, our language, and our services need to be different to accommodate the needs of this new world that we now stepped into. And be able to help these companies co-create with the city. So Dubai Chamber of Digital Economy, the goal is, of course, to increase the size of the digital economy and its contribution, but ultimately be able to advocate for these companies. We have a saying in the team that sometimes we like to be, part-time therapists for these companies and for startups and investors that may have some challenges, and we try to work with them and with the respective regulator, the respective corporate partner to be able to ease those out. Because ultimately, this is an industry that moves not just on quickly, but on a daily basis a few times. And so as a city, we need to adapt. And we do see ourselves as a model for countries and cities around the world that may not be Silicon Valley, that may not be London. Or Hong Kong, but one that's a model for the developing world, providing an option for those that, these large cities are usually too far and do not provide access to them. So Dubai wants to be that, location that provides this opportunity to everyone around in the region and be able to use this city as a launch pad for growth. We understand we're not, large in size nor in market, but we would love to experiment with your company, with your ideas to see where you can benefit the world and service the world from here in Dubai.
Perfect. So I'm going to come back to the startups. Let me pick up on the why Dubai aspect. Some of the guests who've come before have told us that in 2014, when the first blockchain conference was organized, everybody was like, what is blockchain? His Excellency Minister of State AI said in 2017 he was the only AI minister in the world. I'm sure you have similar stories about space and digital economy, etc. Dubai thought about a lot of these things much earlier. So I'd like to start with your story first and then move on to why do you think Dubai is emerging as a hub for digital economy? No one contests that anymore. It's here. Capital energy capital, great regulations, a very talented set of people. But what stands out to you for Dubai?
No, absolutely. I think so. For me, this has happened a few times. When I worked in the space sector, the Emirates Mars mission's science team at the time was purely ran by a full women team, and it wasn't by, hey, this is we have a female KPI that we need to hire for. it's because they were the best at the time and they had the skills for it. And so whenever they used to represent the mission, because the mission was based on the needs of the scientific community. And so the team needed to go and say, you know what, these are the questions that we want to answer. These are the ways we want to answer them. And how does that make sense to the international science community? And so they're usually, at the time, women in their 20s, early 30s, representing and talking to a room of usually very seasoned veteran scientists, and let alone, the hijab and coming from a part of the world that usually wasn't, a contributor, was a user of space technology rather than a contributor. And so I remember one of the conferences we went to, the head of the science team spoke, and there were a lot of questions as to who is this, why are they speaking, Dubai, why are they here? And so once she spoke and presented what the team was sort of working on, and being very open in terms of, what we're doing this experiment, this is part of the scientific experience, and co-creating it with this international science community, you could see the paradigm shift happening in real time. And that really represents sort of the city and how the city operates. Like, hey, let's experiment with the latest technology, the latest developments, and see where that takes us and make the most out of it in real time. We see that almost on a daily basis, where companies that come from abroad that we meet and we go to are surprised that there is an organization that is, dedicated to help them, succeed, and not only succeed but expand out of the city, and use the city as a springboard for growth, because usually cities want to keep you in, stay here, pay taxes here, and so on and so forth. But on the contrary, for us, it's what's good for business is good for Dubai. And so as a result, this has, thanks to this direction that we've received from the leadership here, it allowed Dubai to be this hub for the digital economy, and in particular for testing of the digital economy. This city provides a very agile regulatory ecosystem. Yes, there is capital, and this region as well, not just Dubai, but the rest of the region is sort of blessed with capital and with investing in technology. But ultimately, it is the creation of the best environment for companies to thrive in. And this is something that we've heard from His Highness Sheikh Hamdan, that the aim of Dubai is to create the best environments for companies, for people to thrive. And ultimately, if we look at a lot of the efforts that the city has created since the early 90s and even prior, the goal is quality of life. And a big pillar of quality of life is ensuring that people can do what they need to do to be able to conduct business, to work, and as this podcast is called, to be able to live, work, and play.
Absolutely. So I'll take you back to what does digital economy mean for you? It's a very wide term that's used from everywhere to, e-commerce apps to the sort of infrastructure that's developing in terms of, your data centers, etc. And then, of course, AI and all is a part of it. So how do you define digital economy, and what is Dubai building in terms of the entire stack of this digital economy?
So for us, we look at digital economy as anyone that's digitally enabled, right? So if, where we are at Dubai Chamber of Digital Economy, we're headquartered on the creek, on the original, beating heart of Dubai. And it's interesting to see a lot of traditional businesses and a lot of the DAOs and Abras that usually come there from the region. And, for us, it's ultimately companies that cannot thrive without technology. And you'd be surprised that there are still companies that do, in particular in very traditional sectors. But we're seeing this shift happening where we are either being approached or we meet companies that are saying, you know what, we want to be part of this digital transformation. Or we want to explore it and see how it will affect our bottom line or how it will affect our core business again, because things are happening very quickly. And so when it comes to the focus of the city in technology, I think, of course, AI is one. We have a yearly update on a citywide strategy. That is the Dubai AI blueprint. So every year, all those within the tech space in Dubai and sort of decision makers in the city meet, see what's the latest developments, what are regulations, what are aspects within the ecosystem that need to either be amended, be enhanced, to be able to make this strategy go forward. For us as a banking hub as well, fintech, it's the fastest growing sector over the past 3 years. Of course, prop tech is one. But we're seeing as well a lot of course, logistics and food security. Companies or industries that are using Dubai to be able to test technology in these industries.
I hope all the startups there are taking note of the sectors that they can potentially tap into. So why a Dubai Chamber of Digital Economy? How did that come about? And what is it that the chamber does? I know it's a very multifaceted role that you play, from helping companies to framing regulations to helping them with capital and then sort of scale up. What would you say are your 4 core KPIs, and how is success measured for you?
Absolutely. So, as I mentioned, the Dubai Chamber of Digital Economy was created, by the leadership of Dubai to be able to cater to the needs of this digital economy that's growing every day in ways that are unprecedented, right? So, our goal is, to be able to help the digital economy grow and grow at a faster pace, be able to help companies in the digital space be able to expand and use Dubai as a springboard, work with regulators to create the best regulatory environment for companies, be able as well to support the growth of the startup scene here in Dubai. And the way I like to look at it is, we look at the digital economy sort of at a, if you look at it from A to Z, right? We like to help anyone that has an idea to be able to grow it, and I'll talk about a little bit more about that. Anyone that's an entrepreneur, an investor, even talent, all the way to large conglomerates and sort of traditional businesses that want to sort of venture into the digital economy, right? And everyone in between. And so that's where really we try to focus on. We try to provide services and product offerings for everyone in between, where not only can we benefit everyone, but we can cater our services and what we offer as a Dubai Chamber of Digital Economy to this wide spectrum.
So as a startup, if from some part of the world I'm looking to enter Dubai, what would your advice be to me in terms of how do I start?
Absolutely. So the first thing is get in touch with us. So one of the things that we have is a program called Business in Dubai. It's a platform that is a two-way platform that, first of all, companies that are interested in the city get to fill out a short questionnaire just to help us understand who they are. And they tell us what do they want from the city. I want to be connected to this government entity. I want to be in part of the sandbox program. I want to raise funds. I want to expand out of the city. And then on the other end, we have ecosystem players in the city telling us what do they want. So if they are an investor or a family office or a large conglomerate or even a telecommunication company that has offers for startups, they tell us, these are the customers, these are the people we're looking for, and the team matches them based on their demand. So it's a win-win for everyone. And then, a touch point as well is one of our largest events, which is the Expand Northstar event, which, thanks to the efforts of the team and our partners, has become the largest startup and investor event in the world. just last year we had close to 1,800 companies and startups from around the world, and over 1,000 investors managing an upward of $1 trillion
Wow.
here in Dubai. Many of them, it's the first time they come to the region, so they're really interested to explore what the region has to offer, what this part of the world has to offer, and be able to invest in companies that usually are not in their radar. And for companies to be able to get investors and get insights and partners from those that are usually not visiting their part of the world. And so I think these two are the first touch points, and then the team will be able to cater your needs and your desires and the outcomes that you require out of the city, hopefully, inshallah.
So matchmaking, big conferences, partly therapy. I think all a package of what
Yes.
what the DCDE offers. Great. So I'd like to talk about some of the startups that have benefited from this. Some of the examples that came to Dubai, scaled up in Dubai, and are now ready to take on the world. And also, if some funny stories you have about some of the questions that startups ask you, and some of the things which are just fun to know.
Yeah. So I think one of the things that that a lot of companies, when they think of Dubai or come to Dubai, is they can not just raise capital, but they think capital is very easy to get.
Yeah.
And I think this is something that of course, is a misconception. But what's interesting is, or what the funny thing is companies come to us. They're like, I want to raise money now. And for those that have interacted with this part of the world, or Asia in general, it's you need to build relationships. And so there are a lot of companies that come to us either from Europe or from the States or elsewhere that expect before dinner I'm already getting a check signed, and unfortunately that's not the case. But investing in these relationships usually end up being a long-term game and provide, in my opinion, an exponential return on investment for the entrepreneur and the company, as well as for the investors. I think some of the startups, that have used Dubai as home, Kareem, for example, Souq.com, that has been in Dubai and it was one of the first companies that Amazon actually buys outright rather than compete with, because of the unique offering that they had, but as well as how they were able to cater to the needs of the region, which as a result, many companies end up coming here and doing a copy-paste method and finding it difficult to be able to get traction on the ground. And so, these companies have been able to provide value to those in Dubai and those in the region as a result. Recently we had a company that we helped take to different conferences, which is something that we do at the chamber, where we ask companies that are interested. Let's say recently we went to GITEX Berlin, and so we asked companies, if you're interested to enter the European market, would you like to test the waters? Come with us and we'll take you, and we'd love to hear your feedback. And so one of the companies that we took on those road trips was Expansio. It's a company that that's working to develop smart contact lenses. And recently they raised $250 million. And so for us, this is of course a success story. It's the start of a success story. And the product and the value they provide to people on how it benefits their lives. For us at the Dubai Chamber of Digital Economy, that's the real impact and that's the real success.
And I believe DeepSeek was also a part of Expand Northstar.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
At some point
They
of
were
time.
yeah. So last year they were part of, they got a small exhibition space, the cheapest exhibition space at within Expand Northstar.
Yeah.
They had 2 employees there, and no one sort of knew them at the time. And then 2 months later, they're valued at close to $100 billion. So these things happen at Expand Northstar.
Yeah.
And so the team and I are really working on developing the right mechanism to be able to find these companies for investors, but as well be able to help these companies at the time where they feel that, you know what, there's not enough traction, be able to gain the traction, get that runway to be able to succeed.
I think that's such a Indian and Chinese way of working, right? Two employees, small, and then
Yeah.
suddenly there's
And
an explosion.
that's the entrepreneurial way, right? Just let's get things rolling, let's hit the ground running, and then we'll focus on the details. And in many cases, in particular in this industry, that in particular, let's say with DeepSeek, with AI, every day there is something new, right? So you're not only competing with yourself, you're competing with others from all around the world, and others that are not really boasting about their what they're doing, because they want to keep things under wraps and be able to launch whenever they need to. So absolutely.
So the stealth mode, as they say.
Yes.
That's a common term.
Yeah.
So I'm going to take you now to the India-Dubai tech corridor. I interact a lot with startups from India, and the natural progression after they've done something in India is to test the waters in Dubai. Of course, all nationalities do that, but for India, I think it's a bigger sort of affiliation, because I say it's the best city.
Absolutely.
So in terms of getting Indian companies here, and there's a lot of synergies in that, what is the plan of the Digital Economy Chamber? And what are some of the provisions that you're following?
So absolutely. So if you look at the Dubai Chamber, we already have 2 offices in India. We have upwards of 35 offices around the world, and the goal is to reach to 50. And what these act as entry points for companies, in particular, let's say if our offices in Bangalore or in Mumbai, act as an entry point for companies that want to explore Dubai, whether as a customer base, or even just a hub for a larger market or a gateway to Europe, for example. This office can provide these services, provide advice as well. And for companies that are Indian companies that are here, that want to expand globally, they act as a concierge sort of service. They provide concierge service for these companies to expand and use Dubai to service global markets. And so what we do in addition to these offices is the team and I go on yearly trips to India. Recently, the team was in Bangalore. And so, again, we meet with companies. What are they interested in particular when it comes to Dubai? What are some companies that are already in Dubai? How is their experience going? If there's something we can do better, we'd love to do that right away on spot. If they want to be connected to someone, again, we like to work fast and try to do that on spot, at least to show that, we're not only talking the talk, we're walking the walk. And so what we then do is, once they're in Dubai and sort of either before settling in, we like to meet with them, just check how they're doing, and then see what are aspects that they require, whether it's something as simple as opening a bank account, or finding housing, or even trying to find the right free zone. Dubai has over 20 free zones that are specialized in different industries, and so being able to find the right one, usually it's a bit confusing. And so trying to navigate on what works for you is usually takes longer than expected. And it's a blessing to have a lot of options, but we think that we can be that helping hand to help you find the right space for you to be able to do what you need to do.
Yes. And I think I attended the first session of Expand Northstar when it was at the World Trade Center, a small part of GITEX. And from there to now, you have your own Dubai Harbor grounds, etc. It's come a long way, I'm sure, with a lot of nightmares to you, a lot of planning. How does the Expand Northstar fit in not only with this India tech corridor that you're creating, but also the larger ecosystem of matchmaking that you spoke about?
Yeah. No, ultimately, it's funny enough, as we're working to the 2025 version of Expand Northstar, and it being the 10th anniversary of Expand Northstar, we're having funny challenges where we need larger spaces. Already. And, the only space in Dubai that can offer that with close proximity to hotels and services So far, it's is Dubai Harbor. Um, but I think ultimately, expand Northstar is not only an opportunity to meet with investors, but it allows companies to meet with potential partners. And I really like to emphasize that, because one of the things, as I mentioned earlier, it's, you want to be able to build the relationships, because these relationships either provide you insights or provide you with this helping hand that you may need, that push that you may need to be able to venture into, if you're first time coming to Dubai, venture into this new market, and be able to see it in its real lens for your industry, rather than just, depending on TikTok and social media to be able to base your business decisions. And so it allows, at least for this, testing the water, but with a breathing space for you to be able to meet a large group of individuals. And so for you to be able to meet these people comfortably, but be able to do it in a way that is effective and efficient for you, and then be able to act upon it, is vital. So yes, the investors are great, but I think, for entrepreneurs as well, thinking in the long term, being able to build these relationships, being able to then think globally as a result from day one, is essential to not only the success of your company, but even speaks to expand Northstar and what it's trying to bring to these companies.
So I think the way Dubai is going, maybe next expand Northstar will be in space. Who knows?
Well, who knows?
The way it's expanding. Great. So I will come to now the city of Dubai, Mr. Syed. It's any city to be called a truly global city. You need more than just business. You need more than just tech. You need recreation. You need healthcare. You need education. How, according to you, is Dubai placing itself in these parameters, especially as we have so many Habibis coming from around the world? And what would be some of your favorite things to do, those hidden gems in this city that nobody really knows about?
No, absolutely. And I think, one of the things that the city has been trying to do is really focus on quality of life, right? And so, of course, being able to do business is a big chunk of it. But ultimately, if someone doesn't want, ultimately, if someone feels that, they're not living, they're not they're not being entertained, they're not finding ways outside of work, then it creates that lack of balance in their lives. So, of course, the business ecosystem is running, it's doing its own thing. But ultimately, as a city, for me, for example, personally, in the wintertime, the desert is my home. And so a lot of people are like, there's nothing. And exactly, there, the desert may seem that it lacks life, but it's teeming with life. And for anyone who's visited Dubai or has passed by Al Marmoom during winter, there's traffic jams in the desert. And so a lot of people don't usually see that. Of course, the beach scene here is great, but ultimately, one of the things that I think I'm proud of, as someone who lives in Dubai, is really the wellness and fitness push that we've received from Dubai's leadership. Whether it's the number of world-class competitions that are happening, from Ironman, from Spartans and Tough Mudders, all the way to the recently concluded or first edition, the Mallathon, right? Turning a whole mall into a racetrack, for lack of better terms. And not just one, but all of the largest malls in Dubai. And recently there was an announcement that next year it's going to be all 3 months of summer. And so that's an interesting way to look at it, because here you need to convince the business community, or in particular these large conglomerates that run these malls, that this is a good business idea, that caring about people's well-being can provide a return for you, not just from your baseline perspective, but even to your retailers, to your people that are renting spaces at your malls, but even that caring for people's well-being ultimately provides this trust in you as an organization. And I think trying to provide that in Dubai has been essential. Of course, providing the best school systems in the world and having some of the best, early education centers in the world in Dubai is a testament to that, and really catering to the high standards of parents in Dubai. And so this is ever growing, and so this is something that the city really focuses on, trying to provide world-class services at all levels. Is key, because we know that just focusing on business is not the right way. Focusing on pleasure is not just the right way, but trying to provide as many options for people as there are nationalities that live in Dubai and use Dubai and, use Dubai as home.
And somebody told me that it's one of the easiest places to get a boat license and a plane license, Dubai.
Yeah, it's surprising. You can get a plane license, but because it's one of the highest, it has the highest traffic in terms of airspace, on one of the busiest airspace, you'll have it, but it'll take you time to be able to travel. So it's a good problem to have.
Great. So I'm going to come back to the global now. In my interactions from across the world, US, of course, is where a lot of innovation is happening, with private capital and investors. In China, a lot of state-led development is happening. Europe, you have the entire European regulator. But Dubai seems to have hit that right chord between private, public, and a larger regulatory framework that's very facilitating.
Yeah.
Is my reading right? And what's the future for digital economy transformations, say next 5-10 years for Dubai?
See, I think so. You need to look at it from this perspective. From a historical perspective, Dubai is a merchant city led by merchants. And so this ultimately creates the mindset for the city that tries to do what's best for business, right? Yes, there needs to be a level of regulation in different sectors. There needs to be a space where companies are able to, have the luxury to be able to experiment in new solutions, and then have the regulations, benefit them, right? And so what Dubai is trying to do is trying to be able, it's playing a balancing act that may seem by accident, but has been curated for the past, I like to say 200 years since the modern city of Dubai was first, established, and trying to really put together this formula on what works in this part of the world in particular, rather than trying to just emulate. Sure, you may see the buildings and say, they may emulate somewhere else, but for those that are living here, for those that have visited the city, you'll see that nuance, and you'll see what the city is trying to do, from allowing regulations to be an enabler rather than, a barrier, from decision makers in government trying to understand what this tech has to offer from benefit rather than just from benefit to people rather than benefit to pocket. And so that's something that I think allows Dubai to be unique in what it is trying to do. And ultimately, the way I see the next 5 to 10 years is not only that happening, but companies playing a role in terms of how the city is being shaped in a way that ultimately services Dubai and services the residents of Dubai. And going back to, the goal of His Highness Sheikh Mohammed, where Dubai is to be the number one city in the world, and number one across all boards.
So just 2 last questions now from me. The general perception for years, like you said, has been that people come here to get capital. But that's not true. It's never been. There's a very strong streak of innovation in R&D that's happening. With the Dubai Future Foundation, there are many grants that go on. There was a recently RDI grant, which gives non-dilutive funding, which is really the pain point of startups from around the world. So what are some of these research and development grants that the startups can look forward to in the region that your chamber can facilitate?
So absolutely. So one of the things that we do is we are in touch as well with a lot of government entities. So in addition to the research and development grant that comes from the Dubai Research Council, a lot of companies or sort of a lot of government entities in particular, and this is where a lot of people may not be aware of, because government entities are trying to create the best services. There needs to be not just a POC, but an applied research aspect that happens right before the POC stage. For example, if you've passed through Dubai Airport, in particular Terminal 3, now there is a system that allows you to go and pass through passport security without stopping. That took a decade. And it started with, the Dubai Future Accelerator program and trying to bring this sort of idea to life. And Dubai Airports and the customs authorities was a big partner of that. And so what we've already done as well to some companies is get in touch with us. We know which organizations in Dubai are trying to sort of provide cutting edge services. And when you're at the cutting edge, you need some research, and you need to be able to do it effectively in a way that makes sense from a business perspective for companies. And so we would love to put you in touch with those organizations, and we'd love to make whatever incredible things these companies are trying to do happen.
Actually, I was just around the Dubai Academic City the other day, and the amount of international research institutions that have sprouted up. The best from India, BITS Pilani, with the American University. So it's actually pretty inspirational to see. So my very last question now. Sure. Dubai is now moving towards what you call the next generation sort of logistics development with Maktoum and Dubai South. And of course, Jobs has been there forever. But it's like the city is shifting from where it is now to like a new hub with Expo. How do you see the future of digital economy? What are some of the next big disruptions that Dubai is planning? You mentioned about the AI airport screening. You just go, everything's already done. What would be those 2-3 disruptions that we can look forward to?
Well, that's the $1 billion question.
Am I going to get $1 billion for that now?
No, if I'd like to invest in those. But I think one of the things that historically Dubai's downtown, so to speak, or center, has been moving, whether it's from Deira all the way to down where it is in downtown and moving there. But I think one of the things that will ultimately affect everyone and really be able to elevate the city, it's what the city is trying to do with AI. I think we have just touched on the iceberg, let alone got on top of it and really understand what this industry and what the latest developments in AI mean, not just from a business perspective, but even from a legal and ethical perspective, and what is our version or our use for AI. And a simple example is data security and how each country handles data security. It all essentially comes from what this country's mindset from. The US has a very different way of thinking about data security. China has a different way. And so when it comes to, in particular, AI, the two sectors, I think, in my opinion, in Dubai is you have AI and fintech. I believe these two in Dubai in particular are going to create not just opportunity, but they'll raise a lot of questions that need to be answered in a way that makes sense for the city and as well for the region it represents, right? It does not just represent, just the Middle East, but it represents the 4 billion people that are just 4-hour flight away from the city. And by trying to experiment in it, by trying to play a role in ultimately carrying the conversation forward, Dubai is going to actually be able to assist and be able to provide the right services that make sense for its residents.
I think you're going to be having a lot more sleepless nights the next few years. Smart logistics, drones, fintech, the entire new developments that are happening. You build in the UAE for the region. I think you're going to be quite occupied.
Alhamdulillah, we're blessed.
Absolutely. So that's a wrap from us. For our listeners, anybody who wants to explore the startup landscape in the UAE, in Dubai, he's your man. Please reach out to the Dubai Chamber of Digital Economy Business in Dubai program. Then you've got, Startup 40, Startup 2013, which you were trying to raise up 30 unicorns from Dubai,
Yes,
right?
the D33
The
strategy.
D33
yes.
strategy, yes. And do reach out, and there's a lot that the city has to offer, and we hope we can help you in the journey. Thank you very much. That's a wrap from Live, Work, and Play in Dubai podcast for Economic Times.